Welcome to the Starry-Eyed Effect. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Jen. On this podcast, we'll be chatting about all things Williams syndrome.
Ups and downs, and what it's like living with Williams syndrome.
We're excited to share our community with you. Thanks for being here.
But hey, also, let's just hang.
Yeah, right?
Let's just have a good hang. Right, Jen? Jen
Yeah.
looks all cash on a Monday morning.
Yeah, I look casual. That's politically correct speak.
Yeah.
Or you look like poop. I look like poop today, but it's fine. I worked out, got my workat in. It's really important. So, did you work out today, Joel?
No, but I took the dog for a walk, so I got a little, exercise in. I, of course, had, plenty of stuff to do this weekend. We had our walk, for our awareness event, our walk for Williams syndrome in the Twin Cities on Saturday. Sunday was a lot of, yard work and stuff that I've been neglecting to do for the last few weeks. Today will be a recovery day.
Yep.
That's what I'm going with. I'm going with it's a recovery day.
Well, when you're over 40, those are important. Don't let them fool you. Brendan, did you work out today?
No, I did, though, yesterday, carrying coolers filled with, a lot of different kinds of beers and all different kinds of food up and down stairs at my friend's house. Him and I co-hosted with him an event for Best Buddies to raise money. And also it was his birthday as well, so we kind of celebrated his birthday, which is cool. For the upcoming gala that's on October 6th. So it was the theme was blues, brews, and barbecue. So we had barbecued meatball, barbecue chicken, 13 different kinds of beers, 4 non-alcoholic, and they provided soda and water and everything. And there was remote music. My sister came and played a set for half an hour. And then my former brother-in-law live streamed from Patchogue, New York, and played at a Nashville kind of bar and, played music in support of Best Buddies. And it was really cool. I got to see people I haven't seen in quite a while. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And did you say you were bartending?
Yes. So that was interesting, being the co-host, being the bartender, being the tech guy, running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But, speaking of the walk, I'm actually going to the walk in Boston this upcoming weekend, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I feel like we're really busy right now. There's so many activities going on. Like New Jersey, in Colorado, we had our walk at the end of May,
Right.
but a lot of places across the country have their walks later in the year. So you guys just had yours, right?
Yeah, we had ours on Saturday. It was, we moved it from May to September because there's just a better chance of better weather. We got tired of having the cold, rainy, May weather, because in May in Minnesota, probably, maybe Colorado, things like literally you can have a gorgeous 70-degree day and then the next day it's, snowy and,
Weather can change at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, so we had a stunning day yesterday. It was gorgeous. Our biggest turnout since before the pandemic. So really, really happy with. We had about 300, a little over 300 people there, which was great. We had and it was great, and we had we had wonderful raffle items and a couple really great silent auction items. We had a couple really special guests too. It was really great. Anya Smalley, who's the vice president of the Board of Trustees. She happened to be in town. And then we also had a special performance by Tommy Barbarella and Mariella Elm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, performed live and did some songs from the musical, but then also just did like they did like, you know, like You Got a Friend by Carole King, you know, and it was just like, you know, it's really great set that they put together. And yeah, so we had a really, it was good. It was a good time. It was a lot of, you know, these volunteer events, you know, I know I'm on staff with the WSA, but for these types of events, I'm a volunteer. And
yeah.
It's yeah, and it's a goodly amount of work.
It is a lot of I just said that the Denver walk was in May, but it wasn't. It was at the end of July because that's how my summer went. I don't know what day it is. But yeah, we do the same thing for the same reason, which is like May is always chaotic weather. You never know what you're going to get in Colorado. So we try to push it towards more of like the late summer, early fall. So I'm always interested in walks, like how I know how Colorado does it, but like, how do you guys do it? Do you have it like at a park? Do you have it?
We've been going to the same park now for about the last 5-6 years.
Okay.
Obviously with the exception of the main pandemic year in 2020, we all did the virtual walks. You know, it's funny. We have these walks for Williams syndrome around the country, and by and large, people with Williams syndrome don't really like to walk long distances. So, I've been learning a little bit more about the history of how walks for Williams syndrome sort of became the main thing. I mean, and to be fair, it's catchy. It's, you know, it's easy to remember. It's something that people can understand. You know, you say, oh, hey, I'm raising money for a walk for Williams syndrome. They're like, oh, I get what that is. Very
common in like the nonprofit space, especially like cause-driven organizations like the Susan B. Komen Walk or like the Childhood Cancer Walk. Yeah, so it is familiar. So what is the story?
Well, I mean, I don't entirely know I'm still getting the full story, but it just basically was, it used to be picnics and, just social events. And then, I think it was around the early 90s that, someone had the idea of like, well, hey, I want to do something and I'll raise money, like per mile or per K that I walk or run. And then it became a 5K. Some people ran 10Ks. When Ben was diagnosed, our very first walk for Williams syndrome here in the Twin Cities was a legit, we walked a 5K.
Wow.
And it was not, I mean, it was fun, but it was also, I was like, what are we doing? It's like, okay, and I'm just watching, like, the people with Williams syndrome didn't participate. Yep. They're like, well, no, that's too far for me to walk. So I'm like the adults that with Williams syndrome and the older kids, they're like, yeah, I'm not walking that far. The distance of the walk, at least for us, has become less and less. Now our walk roughly takes about 10 minutes. It's just a lovely little walk down by the park that we're at is on a lake. And so we just walk down, we walk by the lake, we come back up. There's, but there is, there's people fishing and people doing other things, at the lake. So we do get some people that aren't, part of our community that are going, well, hey, what you guys walking for, what you raising awareness. So we get a little bit of outside awareness. Most of the awareness from our event comes after the fact through social media. Comes before the fact with, the fundraising so it's the walk is the walk for Williams syndrome. I mean, if we if we could come up with something as equally clever and equally clear, like you said, Jen, it's saying you're having a walk for something is you don't need to explain what the event is. You just say, oh, it's a walk, and they're like, oh yeah, I get that, because in the fundraising world, you know what a walk is. If we could come up with something similar to, or something like that wasn't a walk, then I think that we'd probably go in that direction, just because everyone's like, I don't want to walk.
Yeah. Wine for Williams. People there's a lot of people who drink wine.
What?
Just drink wine for Williams syndrome.
Wine for Williams syndrome. And then the whole thing ends up being like that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark when Karen Allen is having the drinking contest with the guys in the bar, and we're all just drinking wine and challenging each other.
Yeah, and it could be WHINE, right? So you could be whiny or drink wine. It doesn't matter. Yep. Hey, my kids are both whiny. I have 2 kids. They're whiny, and that's why I need the wine. Although I don't really drink wine. I'm
not a wine drinker either. Whiskey for Williams syndrome.
Oh, there you go.
And then we all get really sappy sentimental. Yeah. It's like, man, this is the best.
This is the best thing.
Hey Brendan, do you drink wine or whiskey?
Yeah. I like a good Pinot Noir or a Cabernet Sauvignon. Every once in a while. I like, whiskey. I'm Irish, so I like, the Irish whiskeys, bourbon, Scotch, whatever, but toned back a lot on that and just kind of stuck back to beer, so I don't feel so not great the morning after,
Well, that is the only caveat to the wine or whiskey for Williams, is that there might be a big hangover, and that is hard. We were talking about can't do it anymore. But I think participation, like you were saying, Joel, for people with Williams syndrome, I'm doing a golf tournament here, the first golf tournament in Colorado for Williams syndrome. And so what I'm seeing so far is, and actually that tournament's happening on Thursday. So by the time this comes out, it'll be 2 days away. But what I'm seeing is that, not a lot of our peeps with Williams syndrome really are golfers either. And so it's how do we include the people that we are supporting? I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I don't have an answer for that this year, but I am always looking for ways to be inclusive. I want people to meet as many Williams people as they can. And I know if it was Stella's druthers, we would just have drums for Williams syndrome. She would just you go to a place and you just play drums all day, musical instruments. She would be jazzed. She'd be so jazzed. Yeah.
The golf event that I went to in Rhode Island earlier this year, must have been June, maybe. It's really interesting to me. The golf events are a great way to raise awareness to people who have never heard of Williams syndrome before, because all it is you get one person to go, yeah, I'll get a foursome from my office or something. And then they just get 3 other. So one person of the 4 has heard of Williams syndrome, and they just get 3 other, people from their office or whatever. And then they get out there and hey, what are we golfing for? What are we raising money for? And then if you can have people with Williams syndrome participating in some way, then you get that connection of, oh wow, this is Williams syndrome is fascinating. There are some teenagers with Williams syndrome that were there, so they didn't golf, but they drove around in golf carts. Yeah, saying hi to everybody, watching them hit, play at a hole, and cheering them on, and thanking them for coming out. And then after the event, there was a raffle, and you could get a little bit of food or whatever, and they were there to walk around and meet people. and that was very impactful for several people that were there. I had several people who had never heard of Williams syndrome come up to me and Anne Marie Sanders, who's our director of institutional giving. She is, but we had people come up to us who had never heard of Williams syndrome going, this is, I've never heard of it. What a fascinating, the people that I've met are great. The families that I've met are just tremendous, and I can't wait to learn more about it. And then you're like, would you like to write a nice big check? That would be great. But no, I mean, and they meeting people with Williams syndrome and getting to know them, and yeah, that does also help people want to give, people want to donate then. So yeah, so
I one of those events because I play golf.
Yeah.
For Special Olympics. So that's really cool. And, putting contests would be cool. And, maybe in the foursome, one of the partners could have Williams syndrome, the cart partners and stuff. That'd be really cool.
I know I'm year one. So I'm like, there's so many things that I'm going to learn for year two that I can implement to make it much better. I think in the part that you just mentioned, Joel, that I think is important to talk about is the giving aspect, right? Like all of these things that we're doing are designed to generate funds for the Williams Syndrome Association. And that's really like so important because our little association does not get any like federal funding, right? And there's a lot of larger rare diseases. I know we don't like that term, but that's what we're, filed under federally is a rare disease. A lot of them do get federal funding. A lot of them are eligible for larger pockets of money. We have to be like grassroots in our community. And so finding these opportunities for other people, not just Williams syndrome families, because we all do so much for the community, but finding ways to engage the peripheral community to be aware of what we're doing, to donate their money, their time, their awareness. I think that that's what I'm finding is a really cool thing about the golf tournament that I'm creating.
Yeah.
Everybody who's golfing pretty much knows Stella. So I'm like, that's it. That's who you know, Stella. But I think like, it's like you start there and then it grows, right? I cannot tell you how many people I have, who've met Stella who like text me later and say like, I think I met somebody else with Williams syndrome, but can you tell me for sure? And our community is so tight. And I'm like, yeah, tell me their name and I'll tell you if they did. And that's great because it's like, had they not known us, had they not known Stella, they wouldn't be seeking those connections otherwise. So I'm enjoying, ask me after Thursday how it goes, but so far it's been really fun. And it's been quite a challenge for me to do this. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's going to be easy. Not easy.
Oh, no.
And piece this together. Yeah. Brendan, is it closer for you to go to New York or go to Boston? Which walk? Is there a walk in New York?
Yeah, I think there was a walk in Philly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if New York had their walk this year.
I don't think New York. I don't think New York did a walk. New York may have had a different event though.
Yeah,
a different awareness event. The Philly walk is the biggest walk in the country.
Right.
That thing is enormous.
It doesn't really have a walk for Williams, so the closest thing would be Boston for me. Okay.
And that one's coming up?
Yeah, that one's this weekend. Yeah. I will say, for people listening, these walks happen anywhere.
Yeah.
They happen wherever people are willing to have a walk.
Right.
It's not like the WSA says, it's not like the WSA says, oh, you have a walk and you have a walk and you get a walk and you do. No, it's literally if someone is interested in raising awareness for Williams syndrome, you can have a walk, you can have an awareness event, you can throw anytime anybody wants to get involved. We certainly try not to say no.
Right.
We try to I know Denise, our special projects person, as well as Anne Marie, and everyone's always tries to have an open mind and an open heart about, oh, you want to do something and raise awareness, and like we had, well, when Spencer Hughes passed away this past winter. I mean, it was kind of very, very early on in the year. His mom and a bunch of Spencer's friends decided to throw an auto show fundraiser. And it was one of the cool, I mean, it was unbelievably freezing because it was really early. I think it was a March day. And it was so cold, but it was such a cool event. And that was another place where it was a lot of people who had never heard of Williams syndrome that were like, oh, there's a whole auto show community where people are car and truck show, that they're just like, well, I hear there's a car and truck show. I register and I come show my cool truck. And and I'm raising money for something. I don't even know. Well, so they were able to learn about Spencer and his life, and a few other adults with Williams syndrome from the area came out to the car and truck show. And it's just like, well, that was something Spencer loved, and so it made perfect sense to hold an awareness event, and it was all volunteer, and it was just it was because people were moved and wanted to participate. So these events can happen anywhere, and also can. Well, this is cool, and I know I'm talking a lot, and I'm sorry. I shouldn't. I should actually let our hosts talk.
You're good.
But we were also talking about the fact that these awareness events can happen anywhere, and they also can be any size. Like my mother-in-law was unable to attend the walk this year because it fell on a date that she had already planned to go on a trip with some friends to Morocco. Which, despite the earthquake, the trip still is happening and they're having a great time. But she went and had her Walk for Williams shirt for this year, and her button for our little team. We call for Bennett's team, we call her Team Benbow. That was his nickname when he was a baby. So she was in Morocco, and she took pictures of her with her Williams syndrome shirt, raising awareness in Morocco. And I know there was another family that had a relative in Europe that was gonna walk around with their shirt on, with their Williams syndrome shirt.
But I think that's a good point, that like fundraising or awareness doesn't always have to be like on a grandiose scale. It doesn't have to be a walk. It doesn't have to be a golf tournament. It can be, you just buying a t-shirt and walking around in Morocco, right? Spreading awareness about Williams syndrome. It could be doing something like more small and intimate in your local community. I know Stella just saying we have like I don't know what it is. It's a new baseball team. I don't know what the different divisions are or whatever, but anyway, it's like local. So it's not like minor league. It might be like minor league.
Yeah.
But I was actually talking to them about the golf tournament, and they said, hey, would you want to come out and sing? Because Stella loves to sing the Star Spangled Banner. So she went out and sang at their last game. And, we said that she had Williams syndrome, and, like that. It wasn't a fundraising activity, although they were kind and gracious and donated something for our golf tournament. But it was more of just like, here's a little opportunity for us to hit a community with awareness. So we are really proud about Stella's Williams syndrome diagnosis. We think, I can't imagine our life being any different, but we're like, everybody should know, right? And I know that's always hard because some families don't feel that same way, or maybe their journeys are more complicated. But for us, it's a point of pride, and we really like to highlight it, anywhere that we can. So it doesn't even have to be like a monetary thing. Just the visibility is helpful, so that like when we are doing golf tournaments and we are going out to companies and we're raising money, somebody's like, oh, yes, we know about Stella, who lives in the community that we are a part of. And so we're happy to donate to Williams syndrome. Because, that's the other thing. Like, these companies get bombarded with asks for all kinds of things. So making sure that like we're visible enough that they know what our funds are going toward and who the people are in the community that impacts is really important. It helps. So that's just the thing, I guess, if people are listening and they're like, what is the point of this conversation? I don't know. Is that the point? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe I just made that up.
Well, no, you bring up a good point. You bring up a great point, and you brought it up earlier too, about, being a rare genetic condition. It's hard to break through the din of everybody else that is who's also just trying to do some good work and trying to fund some research and trying to make people who have that particular condition, just trying to help people's lives be better. And we don't like to think of it as a competition, but unfortunately the reality of it is when you're looking for revenue, when you're looking to help fund programs and fund research, it becomes all about, you almost have to, you're selling this particular condition.
Yep.
And so I'd be curious to hear from both of you. But Brendan, so first of all, Brendan, have you you've talked about it a little bit, but you've always been once you got the diagnosis,
yeah,
were you you were pretty open with it and this is what I have, and were you talking about, or was it more like, I don't want to deal with it?
It took me a while to accept things.
Okay.
I looked at it as like a blessing and a curse for quite a while. And then I just came to fully accept it and just let it be and be comfortable with it. And once I got comfortable with it, I was like, okay, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Then I was like, okay, now I feel comfortable enough talking about it to people. Usually people don't know I have it unless I tell them.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, it's always really important to me to spread awareness and, spreading the importance of what Williams syndrome is, and, also spreading the importance of other disabilities that, or coexist within the Williams syndrome category,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I, so when we've talked several times about you didn't get your diagnosis until you were 15. 13.
Yeah.
So can I ask, how, around what age were you when you sort of felt like, what, this is who I am, this is what this is my journey, and I'm going to share it? Around how old?
I know, 14-ish.
Oh, okay.
Closer, maybe even 16 is when I was like, now I've really got something to live for. Now I've got to really just push through the mold and, do what's best for me and, live Williams syndrome the way that I want to live it,
The WSA, and also specifically Jen, started a new family support network, virtual support group for caregivers of teens and tweens. And we did hear a story of a young person who really did not want anything to do, fully understood their diagnosis of Williams syndrome, fully knew that this is what their diagnosis and their challenges are, but wanted nothing to do with being part of a Williams syndrome community, of being part of, so just not wanting, just really not in denial, because it wasn't in denial. It was just but I am not my Williams syndrome, is sort of the takeaway that I got. What did you?
Yeah. It's interesting that we're talking about this, because I love Brendan's feedback, and I'd actually love the community. If you're listening and you have any experience or feelings about this that you want to share with us, I don't know how they share it with us. I would love for them to share it with us.
Hey, we have a Facebook group, the Starry-Eyed Effect group on Facebook. You can always join that. And
always join the chat room and hang.
You can comment on the YouTube. our YouTube podcast channel. You can leave a message or write, leave a review and leave a comment on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your
shoot us an email.
Just an email, podcast@williams-syndrome.org. It's like I know this. It's like I'm part of the production team.
So that was the question. We were this first teen group that we had a parent that was like, my person does not identify with the Williams syndrome community. They do not want to be around people with Williams syndrome. They don't want to be around other people with disabilities. Like they just want to be totally like the opposite. And I was like, oh man, this is so weird for me in the sense that like, and Stella is young enough that I'm just like, this is what you're doing. But I would be interested to hear from maybe, like I was saying, you, Brendan, or other people in the community. Like, has anybody felt that way? Do you not feel like you fit into the community? Do you not want to fit into the community? And, if so, like, share with us your reasons why. Or if you already went through that journey and you went through those feelings, like how did you start to embrace it? So maybe that's the question for you, Brendan, is like, how did you start embracing this part of your life?
Like really embracing it, I think music has really helped me embrace it. And also being a part of the board really given me a purpose, given me a trajectory of like, okay, now I really need to like present myself in a certain way, in a professional way, and also be a good role model for, people with Williams syndrome and also just the Williams syndrome community as a whole. So
you kind of leaned into it like there are other people who are coming after me and I want to like pave a good future for them. I don't know if that's exactly what you mean, but yeah, it sounds like it.
I want it to be right. And I want to project myself in the best way possible, that I don't look bad and others don't look bad after, my time is up, whenever that may be.
Mm-hmm. And this also provides a nice transition to, you serve on the board of trustees for the WSA. When is your term? You still have a little bit of time here yet, don't you?
I just talked to Mary and my term ends in January and I'm renewing for 2 more years.
Awesome. That's great.
So it's officially official.
Yeah.
So,
but there are a number of board positions that will be open.
Yes.
And so that's another way that people can get involved, is to be on the board of trustees. That is, it's a decent time commitment. It's not, but on the board, what's important to note is on the board, per our bylaws, we have to have, a certain number of people on the board with Williams syndrome. And
right now there are 3. There's me, there's Clancy, and then there's Gianna.
And I think and there's nothing to say that that's like the maximum. So we, there always can be more. It's just a matter of who is interested. I think Clancy's term is I think her term is ending. We have several other terms that are ending at the beginning of the year, and so there is. I'm trying to find here. For more information about job description, find out about board member nominations, please just reach out. Please contact us. You can reach out at info@williams-syndrome.org for information about being on the board. I believe there is going to be some sort of educational Zoom, learn more about what it means to be on the board.
Yep, and those are on 10/2 and 10/12. I was just pulling them up, Joel, while you guys were chatting. And you can listen in and you can learn more about what it's like to be on the board from existing board members. You can learn about what how many seats are going to be available. It said that, I think they said typically there's about 4 seats every year that are available, and they get upwards of 20 applicants. I can tell you, you can try to make a poster and try to run. Doesn't always work. I will tell you from experience.
Did you ever see our poster? So Jen and I both applied to be on the board.
Right.
We collaborated. We talked a lot to each other about, okay, what should we, we were sort of each other's
Sounding board.
Yeah, just sounding board. Yeah, just to talk about things. And so we created a campaign poster.
Yeah. I mean, one of us got asked to work for the WSA, and one of us
is the host of an award watching podcast.
Award winning, yes. So it is, though, such a great opportunity. And really, it depends. Like there's so many, I think a lot of people are like, gosh, I don't have any relevant experience, right? Like I'm not a business person, or I'm not a doctor, or I'm not this. Like it really takes a team of varied people with varied life experiences to create and shape the direction of the WSA. And we want to hit all of those cylinders, right, of kind of pillars of importance. And so I would just say, like, anybody, if you are thinking like, I want to serve the WSA, I don't know if I have any relevant experience, like just listen in on the board calls, on the information sessions. I would encourage you to take a leap of faith. I mean, like I applied last year and I didn't get on, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like I don't have great experience. It just means that, like there is a place and a time for everything. So if you keep applying, at some point it's going to be your time, and that experience is going to be needed and called upon. So I think just letting the organization know that you're interested and you're willing to be of service is a great first start, because it may be a board fit. It may be you get to be called to do a podcast. You might get called to coordinate a golf tournament. You might be asked to do a local, medical project or research.
Yeah, like a research center, yeah.
Right, exactly. So I think that there's all different kinds of opportunities, as long as people know that you're available and interested.
And I just want to say, I got to give credit to Terry Moncava, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be on the board, because I wasn't going to apply in the first place. And she called me on the phone and was like, you really got to do this. I think you would be great for it. And so I did it, and I'm here now. So I just, thank you, Terry, so much.
Can you also talk a little bit about like what it is like being a person with Williams syndrome on this board?
Yeah, it can be very eye-opening at times to see like what goes on behind the scenes, and to be privy to, a lot of different things. And it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. And it's, for a greater cause, bigger than I am, bigger than anybody on the board is, it's really important. And, is it easy? Sometimes no. Sometimes there are disagreements that come about, and they happen, and then we work through them. And, it's not always a walk in the park, but it's fun. It's fun. Like when we go to the in-person board meetings, those are a blast. Like we get to travel. Like, for instance, the board is going to Austin in November, which I'm super excited about. And, we get along very well. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. It's life. It happens.
And as a person with, so you, Gianna, and Clancy, I got to attend a strategic planning meeting last year. And that was, everyone on the board has a direct connection to Williams syndrome. Most people on there are caregivers, but it's, you can't, what struck me is it was so important to not just have the caregiver perspective. You need the person with Williams syndrome's perspective on the vision and on how we're going to move forward on some things and where our priorities are. And the rest of the board leaned heavily at times on the three.
Yeah, it was intense at times. It was really worth it.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's I think I always worry that when when a person with a disability is put on a board or put in some sort of leadership position of some kind or whatever, that I always worry that it's just going to be a token or a figurehead or just something in there, just like, oh, see, look what we've done, but then never actually
right.
If you are on the board, you are on the board to work, and it doesn't matter if you have Williams syndrome, if you're a caregiver, what the deal is. I think that's important to note, because I happen to know how hard and some of the decisions that Brendan and the board have, some of the hard choices and hard conversations that they've had to have.
I mean, especially with like bringing in a new executive director. Yeah, that. Being a part of the, center of excellence, being a part of, making that happen. A lot of thought and preparation went into that, but especially like the whole process with the new board of, executive director,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the organization was transitioning from a person who literally helped sort of build this thing from scratch to now how do we move forward and
right.
continue to grow and continue to move in it.
Well, so again, I mentioned that those listening sessions are on 10/2 and 10/12. I believe you can go on to the WSA site, the Williams Syndrome .org, and you can register to participate if you're interested. So if you have Williams syndrome, we always love to hear interest from directly the people we're serving. But if you, again, you don't even have to be a parent or a caregiver of somebody of Williams syndrome. You just have to have a passion for serving this community. If that's something that you are interested in learning more about, then please register for our upcoming openings. I don't know how many we have, somewhere around 4.
Yep.
Prime example that is Aaron Lombard.
Mm-hmm.
He has a sister who has Williams syndrome, and now he's on the board. So shout out to Aaron.
Right? We had him on the podcast. We heard
with Aaron and Coco.
Yep.
And he was like, just found out about this community. And we were like, that's great, because you're the kind of people that we want to find, right? Like those people who didn't even know about us. Like that's experience he didn't even know that he had. And look at how well he's been able to serve us. It's just been like transformational. So shout out to Aaron and Coco.
Yeah.
Yeah. Information about all of the events that we have been talking about and all of the support groups and everything that we've been talking about as available on the website, williams-syndrome.org/events. Click on the events tab, and then you'll be able to see all of the stuff coming up. Well, walks in Yucaipa, California, the Chicago Carnival.
Yeah.
Golf tournaments, picnics.
The convention, which is a whole other topic, but I was just going to mention that, like we were talking about, if you are interested in holding an event for Williams syndrome in your area and you need support, you can also contact us and we can put you in connection with the appropriate people. So big or small, events are important to gain awareness and for us to further our fundraising capabilities. So hopefully something in this spurred you to feel like you can do that locally.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
And then convention. Now we can talk about convention.
Well, convention. We'll be talking about convention. Once I get past the end of September here, once I get into October, I think convention will be first and foremost on mine and several others' minds as we are getting ready to go to Phoenix and hopefully Yeah. The stuff we have planned, the stuff that we are endeavoring to do while we are there. It's really exciting. I'm really excited to share with everybody when I can share what we're doing. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah. Mary was like, "Oh, what does Joel have planned?" I was like, "It's Kim."
well, Mary was there. I mean, I mean, here's what I will say is somehow, some way, there will be a live podcast recording where people can come and be in the audience and participate. And I don't know where, and hopefully we'll have some, cool special guests to interview and stuff, and people can ask questions and etc. But we will, there will be some sort of Starry-Eyed Effect presence, and I'm very excited about that. So that'll be silly fun.
Can you be our bartender for our podcast, our special podcast screening, Brendan?
I'm on it. I am on it.
Well, so maybe that's what we do is we do a regular recording at like 6, 7 at night, and then we come back and we do a late night over 18 show.
Yes.
Where the cocktails are flowing.
I went to a thing and it was like they had a special drink for the event. We could create like a starry-eyed drink. I don't know what would be in it.
I haven't thought about that already.
Starry-eyed martini. Ooh.
Yeah, because there's all I'll say is there's edible glitter.
Oh, okay.
Something a little sparkly, maybe. Something maybe like around a French 75 sort of scenario where there's champagne and gin and etc. things all involved. And
Nice.
we'll come up with the starry-eyed cocktail. But yeah, I think that should pretty much do it for this episode.
We to fill it up. We were like, let's just get together and talk and see what happens. This is what happened.
I just also want to give a big shout out to Stephanie. Because she was also part of the podcast, and now that she's moved on to do other things, I just want to give a big shout out to her. We love you. You're always welcome here, and good luck with everything.
So I think that'll do it for us for this week, maybe 2 weeks. Maybe we'll, no, because Jen's going to be super busy with the golf event. So we'll see in a couple weeks. I think we'll get back to our regularly scheduled shenanigans.
Yes, we keep saying like, man, after this it'll get slower. After this, things will slow down. After this
I've tried to stop saying that. Yeah, I've tried to stop saying that because it's never going to stop. I'm gonna
go with it. Sometimes flexibility is good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, take care, everyone. Be good to yourselves and be good to others.
You've been listening to The Starry-Eyed Effect, presented by the Williams Syndrome Association. The show is hosted by Jennifer Keaton and Brendan Lemieux, and produced by me, Joel Listman. Theme song by Tommy Barbarella and Mariella Elm. Got a question for the show? Email us at podcast@williams-syndrome.org. Video version of the podcast available on the Williams Syndrome channel on YouTube. Review us on Apple Podcasts, and maybe it will get featured on a future episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to The Starry-Eyed Effect wherever you get your podcast delights.